Okay, so this miner frame is for 8 GPUs, which, you know, I just bought it. I do things without thinking, and I just bought it. I know I can just add 4 GPUs to the extra space when I get them, but as of right now, this is only going to be a 3 GPU build until I can afford more graphics cards. But so the 8 bay will do just fine, and I know I can, you know, move things around to fit 4 more cards if I really wanted to. But here's the instructions. Gives you a parts list, all the screws, these brackets right here on the end, right here. It comes with 2 of them, so that way if you buy another unit, it comes with 2 more. And these are used so you can stack the units together. As you see right here, they fit right in the frame, like that. And then they get set screws going in, so it's flush. You won't see it. Well, you will see the bar, but the screws won't stick out. And you got 2 GPU frames stacked together safely. Okay, so here's all the bars. They label them, so it's really easy. If you built dressers and stuff from the store or a bookshelf, this should be pretty easy. If you worked in an electronics store before, manufacturing, again, this should be pretty easy for you. If not, follow along with the video, pay attention, and leave a comment if you have any questions. I'll be happy to help you. So, back to the unit. It came with a plexiglass to hold the hard drive if you're going to use a SATA hard drive. These 2 pieces of plexiglass right here are for the 2 power supplies. You can put 1 on each side. If you look right here, here's the finish of what it's supposed to look like. The 8 GPUs, the 8 fans, or 7 or whatever. And the graphics cards I'm using take up 150 watts, so when I do get more than 8 cards, I won't be using all this power supply space because I use server power supplies. So I'll fit some cards down here. I'll make it work. I'll make a video about that. But from now on, I'll definitely be buying the 12 GPU frames. I saw a good review from VosCoin. He was building a GPU unit, and I like that frame he had. Had graphics cards on the top and the bottom of the motherboard instead of double stacked on top where the wires won't reach. That's the reason why I didn't buy the other frame I saw. If it has the motherboard at the bottom and then 2 stacks, motherboard at the bottom and 2 stacks of GPUs, the top row probably will not reach with the USB wires provided from the powered risers. So the one VosCoin made a GPU unit with, it had the graphics cards at the bottom, motherboard in the middle, and the graphics cards on top. I liked it, and that will be my next unit. So back to the GPU frame. Here's all the hardware it came with. Comes with everything you need to build it. Standoffs, the set screws to mount 2 frames together, nut retainers, caps for the top and bottom, bars to hold the bottom frame together. It came with the 7 fan guards you need. Comes with all the fan brackets. Comes with the power switch. And it even comes with the Allen wrench, all the 3 Allen wrenches you need to build the frame. So this frame is really, it's got everything you need. So I would suggest it if you have a motherboard that doesn't fit more than 8 GPUs. If you're gonna get 8 GPUs, then I suggest you looking for a different one. I'll leave one in the description of a good one that, like I said, I saw VosCoin used. But alright, we're gonna set the camera up and then we'll get building. First thing you want to do is look at that instruction sheet, and you want to line up all the bottom pieces. The 4 outside pieces, those two, they get mounted to the vertical frame piece. So the first thing I'm going to do is use these screws right here, the longer ones, and they go through the other side, and make sure you have all your holes lined up correctly. This would be the front frame. So if you look right here, it shows you the picture with the standoffs. Just follow the pictures. I got this one facing the front, so the bar is going to be offset towards the back. Alright. Alright, so now I'm going to start assembling the bottom piece of the frame. Start with the middle one. And make sure these holes, they're drilled out a little further than the other ones, so the screws are flush. This is going to be the outside piece. If the screw doesn't fit all the way in the hole, it's the wrong way. Flip it around. And these just simply thread into there. And when you're doing it, make sure you're doing it on a flat surface, because it needs to be perfectly flat with each other. The next one. Now, these three small pieces of frame, the middle one, there's only one piece. These two outer middle are the same, and then these two outers are the same. So when you first open the box, do not rip the paper off of the bars until you lay them out where they go. If you do, you're gonna have to be looking at holes all day to figure out which one goes where. And when you're first assembling the frame, don't be cranking the screws tight. Wait till you have like a section all the way done, so everything's nice and straight. Because if you tighten everything up and then something's not lining up and you cross thread the screw, then you're gonna have a little issues if you don't have a tap kit. But if a screw isn't going in easily, take it out, try it again, because it's not gonna, if it's threaded, the hole's threaded and the screw's threaded, you should have no issues. I just tightened that one up myself talking. But yeah, just don't force nothing. Now we're gonna get this side. Like I said, this isn't connected to here. We gotta put the vertical parts on for that. And all this hardware came in individual bags. I'm the one who put them. Up, see, I already messed up. You gotta check the holes a lot, because I just messed up. I gotta flip the bar around. Holes are offset. See, I was in electronics and manufacturing and wired electrical for like 8 years, and I still mess up. I mean, I haven't done it in a while. Now I'm an automotive mechanic, working on shipbox rusty cars all day from New England, trying to change that. So now that the bar is the right way, the holes line up. might have done something else wrong. Because, oh wait, no, these things fit right in there. That's good. These little nut retainers. I thought you had to put them in at that time, but you don't. That's good. So, see how the frame's rocking? Well, it was. That's because it was too tight in one spot. Now, to find out which bars are vertical, look at the back of the paper. It says FS01. FS01. So FS01, there's 4 of them, and that's the vertical pipe. Now that I know which bars I'm using, I'm going to unwrap them now. Instead of unwrapping everything right when you first get it, because the labels are on the wrapping. Alright, so that's my 4 pieces. Now to figure out which way they go. So there's a hole at the bottom, and then a hole midway to the top. Make sure you get all the cutouts for the head of the bolt facing the right way. And then you're gonna grab these angle brackets. That's what's going to hang these onto the longer ones. And then the smaller piece of the frame, the outside edge, just gets a bolt going through just like this. And these go on the bottom, and they use these. What screws they use? Wish I had more light in this place. Yeah, I think they use the nut retainers with those screws. All the screws. So, to hang the angle brackets to the vertical pipes, use the angle brackets right here, and then the smaller socket cap screw. So now we're going to want to flip this. Well, no, I won't flip it. Pull off the table a little bit. And these openings need to go to the outside for the bolts to hold the other bar on. How these nut retainers work, the little silver nut retainers, you slide them in, and when you start tightening the screw, it should turn, and you know, it'll seize up so that way you can actually tighten it up. But it's looking like it's going to be easier if we just flip this thing upside down to get this started. Make sure your bars don't spin. So you slide them in with the smooth part facing out. Okay, I lied. They go the other way, the smooth part in, with the little piece sticking out goes up, so it goes into the frame rail. My bad. And it spins right into place when you start tightening it. It's going to be flush with this. Make sure it's straight and flush with the end. You don't have to tighten it all the way because you can go through and tighten all the screws when you're done, which is usually a good idea in case you forgot anything anyways. So next, we're going to need to put the bar on too, but this is upside down right now because the frame is flipped upside down. So I'm going to finish putting all these 4 brackets on, and then we'll get to it. Here's a close-up of what the bracket looks like. And I'll show you real quick how this nut retainer goes in the hole. See a nut retainer, how it's got ridges and a little, you know, the center is sticking out a little bit. Put that point facing up. And then when you start tightening a screw on it, it will turn in the frame and then it'll get stuck, so you can tighten the screw. And if you're taking it out, it's just the opposite. You slide it out. That's how those work. Alright, I'm gonna pause this, put the rest of those pieces on, flip it back over, and then we'll get going with the next part. Now that I got all the corner brackets on there, I started putting this bar on. Realize that it's just as easy doing it while it's upside down, at least the 2 front ones or whatever. When you put this bar on, make sure you got the right hole. You need the big screw to fit into that hole flush, so that way you can put this bar on. So just remember to have these holes facing the outside. On these middle bars, you notice there's a hole right here, because there's a bar that goes across right here also. You need the hole, big enough right here, so you can have the screws flush on the outside right here and right here. Also right here on the outside of this one. So basically what I'm saying is, you need to keep track of your bars and which holes are which, because you see how that hole, it's got cut out right here on the outside piece, and this one does not. So make sure you always got the bars the right way. And keep your bars, if you don't crank your bars tight, keep them a little loose, you can move them around. With these brackets right here, you gotta make sure they're nice and flush with the end. The bottom piece, you see it flush with the bar. So that way you put the other bar up to it, you're good. You see the nut retainer in there. Now I found it easier to have this bar off and then, you know, use my hands right here. You put my hand, you know, keep that screw in there, and then by hand put the nut retainer on, and then slide the bar up, and then tighten it. Because if you're trying to, you know, hold the frame up to keep the nut retainer in the frame, or it's gonna keep sliding out, be a pain in the butt. Alright, so I'm gonna put those on and flip it back over. Alright, you can see that I added these two middle bars, which there's no other holes besides the holes in the end for these screws, so you don't have to worry about which way they go. But I don't know if you can see it right there, but see a screw right there, screw on the outside right there. You'll see that this middle bar right here, middle outer, or whatever, the outer bar right here, smaller one, is held on by this screw going through the bar, and this longer bar is held on to this one by the bracket. Remember that. And remember, if you're trying to screw the screws in and it's too hard, you can't go in, don't keep forcing it. Take it out, spin it backwards a little bit more, and try again, because you don't want to cross thread and screw it up. You'll see everything's nice and flat. There's no wobbling around. These little end clips, all you do is push them down in there. You see the hole up top? Push them down. Now, depending on whether you're going to add another frame on top or not, you can put them in and just pop them off later. But the bottoms, you are definitely putting them on, and it just keeps it from scratching up tables and stuff. Yeah, the finished product looks nice. Next, I'm going to add all the standoffs in there before I start building the upper half. So I'm going to get my motherboard and see which holes line up and start putting standoffs in, and then I'm going to build the next level of the frame. So I'll pull the camera back out and describe everything when it gets to that point. I don't have a camera tripod right now, so it's very hard to have the camera in a good position. So I figured I'd just go over everything every time from now on. So we'll get back. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and we'll see you in a minute. Alright, so I have the standoffs in. The motherboard I am using is the ASRock H110 Pro BTC Plus, and their motherboard layout for the mounting holes is a little bit weird, and of course this frame didn't match up. Only this 1, 2, 3, and 4 matched up. I had to drill and tap these two holes right here. If you plan on following this and using the same board and frame or whatever, the measurements is 155 millimeters from here, center of this hole, to center of this hole, and same for here, 155 centimeters. If you don't know what 155 centimeters is, it is on a tape measure. You see up to the 15 is 150 millimeters, so right in the middle would be 155 millimeters. Alright, if you're using a tape measure, I usually go up 5, start at 5 and go to 20, so that way it's nice and flat. But the measurement is 155 millimeters. Alright, and then it's a M3 hole. So if you have the tools, that's great. If not, it might not even be needed. I just like the extra support. just in case anything gets pushed on it. I don't want to break the board at all. But I just want to give that tip right there about the standoffs and that motherboard. Okay, real quick rundown. I moved areas, by the way, also, so it's gonna look different in here. I have all the standoffs in there. I explained that about how I have drilled 2 holes. I added this bar. There's no extra holes on top of here. This bar is just basically for the graphics cards to lean on, and this bar going across has all the threaded holes to mount the graphics card, you know, where the metal bracket is. And right now this is not where it's supposed to be, so don't crank these tight. I don't have my video. I'm at my parents' house right now, and I don't have my powered risers with me, so I won't be going through that right now. But you know, when you get the powered risers and the graphics card put together, you can see how high you need this bar by just leaning the graphics card on this bar and then having the screw go in there, you know, wherever it sits comfortably. And now for the fans, only 2 of my packs came in, 2 3-packs, so I get 6 fans and then this one ugly fan at the end for now. It works, whatever. These brackets, there's 12 of these, and then there's 2 of each side pieces. And all these, as you can see right here, I started. You put the yellow piece down, and then you put the fan cage over on top. And then these long screws, long socket cap, those ones you use right here. And then also there's 4 extra to use on these ones. When this gets mounted right there, this hole gets mounted on the side right here, or the side right here. Alright, now once I have this whole thing built, I'll go through a quick rundown, and I'll make a picture with the diagram of what goes where, because their pictures are really small, and unless you have really good eyesight or glasses, then it's gonna be hard to see. So I'll put a picture along with this in the video in the description. But yeah, I just want to give you an overview of the fans before I put them all together. I'll set this one up right here. See how right there. So you take the fans together like that. Simply goes over there like that. Right there. And you take the fan guard and you put it over like that. Now you can do 1 fan at a time. I start putting these screws in. I'll put these 2 in, and then I'll move on to the next fan. I'll put these 2, these 2, these 2, and go all the way down the line. And then you'll have a nice rack of fans. Although that right there just ruins it all. I can't wait for my other pack of fans to get in. But oh well. I don't care how it looks, as long as the hash is alright. Alright, so we'll get back when I get the rest of the unit built and the graphics cards and the motherboard on. Thank you for watching. Alright, so now we're going to put the power supply together. The power supply, and it uses the small button head screws with the silver nut retainers that go inside the frame piece, and then it came with these thumb screws to hold the power supply to the bracket itself. A good way to get started with these is you just put the screw on, you get it started off the frame by just putting it together like that. You see how I got the nut retainer on there already, and then you just stick it in the frame, push in, and once you start tightening, the nut retainer will start going in. Line it up where you want it. Tighten it up. Well, you need the other side too, Dirk. So remember how these nut retainers go. Right? There's a part that's flat, and there's a part that sticks out. The part that sticks out is the part that's going to be facing out. So this part's facing out. See how there's a piece sticking out? So it fits in the frame. So again, just start this outside the frame, because to hold this inside the frame would be a pain in the ass. Slide it back down, put it in the frame where you want it, push in, start tightening it, and it will turn into place, lock itself up, making it able to tighten. And there's 3 holes here, but I think it only needs 2 screws. You can put 3 if you want. Now the thumb screws.
I'm not taking your game money. Don't tell me what to do. You'll get to do that. I don't hear from you for 7 years. Nothing. Then how do you know it?
Alright. That's not going anywhere. Alright, so that's the power supply now. I need a tripod, people. These videos aren't too good. Once I get a tripod, I'll do another build with, better views. But for now, I'll just show pictures of everything and Now I'm gonna hook up the motherboard power. 24-pin connector, ATX. Now with this motherboard, I don't like the mountain hole layout, because on the end over here, it's flimsy. There's no screws right here. I mean, there's 2 holes right here, but they're not meant for whole mountain holes. There's screws right here, so when you push down right here, be very gentle. Can't even see it, can you? Let's try that again. When you push down on this end of this motherboard, the ASRock H110 Pro BTC Plus, be careful. You might want to hold your finger underneath there while you push this down, because there's no support. You don't want to, bend the board too much. That's in. Take the CPU.
Your fucking ass, man. Make sure you move up to what that shit.
Throw the CPU in over here.
Fuck you looking at the floor for? So, bro, I get it. You think you're really badass because you put
And
some fucking dope.
if the connectors aren't going right in, try wiggling them a little bit. Usually helps. Don't do it too much, but a little wiggle sometimes helps. Always check your connectors. Your connectors have, well, first of all, in the power supply, they have 2 sides. The side with a straight 8-pin connector goes into the power supply. Most power supplies have the EPU or CPU wire split up into two 4-pin connectors, and a VGA is split up into a 6+2, or just a 6, or just sometimes even an 8, I believe. But majority of the time it will be a 6+2 connector. I put mine away right now, but alright, for the fans, came with 2 of each corner clip. So there's 2 of these, 2 of these, and then there's 12 of these clips to hold the 2 fans together. Now what I did was I laid out, you know, 2 or 3 fans on the table, and then I laid out 4 clips, 1, 2, 3, and 4. That way I started with this. The guard goes on top of the yellow clips, and then you use the long button head, Allen head screws. There's 2 sizes screws that came with this frame. The longer ones you use for the fans. Yeah, it ends up being, you know, just right. The long ones for the fans, and then for the 4 end ones with the nut retainers. The end ones get held on by those nut retainers that go in the frame and twist as you tighten. The fans I'm using, they go into this board right here, and then they get powered up by a regular 4-pin Molex per feel.
Did I do something wrong?
Power connector. You know, I got this one ugly fan right here because only 2 boxes of fans came in. So we'll have nice colorful over here, and then we'll have ugly. But whatever, as long as it's making money, right? Now the power supply is tightened up. Here's how you do it. The motherboard's in. Here's some hardware that I'm using. The motherboard is ASRock H110 Pro BTC Plus. It comes with 11 PCI X1 and 1 PCI X32. And they put all the connectors pretty close. So when you use powered risers, I'm going to show you right here, but you just put tape on the back. I'll leave a link in the description at some high temperature tape. It's electronics tape. It's non-conductive, high temperature. It's meant for electronics. Here's the powered risers I'm using. These ones are version 7S, so they're SATA. Now they come with the what they are, the CCTV connectors. If you ever worked with CCTV video camera systems, that's what these come from. Well, the cheap ones at least. But I'm not using them because I'd rather plug my SATA cable directly into here than to plug into a connector and then plug into a 4-pin Molex again. I just don't see a point. Get rid of one connection, plug directly into here from the power supply. Now the power supply I'm using is only 850 watts, but I only plan on powering up the motherboard, the CPU, and the risers. Well, and the fans too. But all the video cards, well, right now I'm only putting 3 video cards in here, that's all I have. But, you know, we can upgrade it later. That's the beauty of graphics card rigs. You can build a 1 GPU rig and add 1 every week if you wanted. It doesn't matter, because all you do is shut down your computer, install. Depending on what OS, you might have a little issues, but it's upgradable. Now the fans I'm using, Ago R3 RGB. They come in 3 packs. I'm using M2 hard drive. You see right here on the motherboard. That's M2 slot right there. The motherboard comes with a screw to hold it down nice and firm. We'll go through that. The CPU I'm using is Intel Pentium Celeron G4400, 3.3 gigahertz. I'll leave a link in the description for all the parts that I'm using, plus some alternatives that, you know, work just as good. The RAM I'm using, I'm just using a 1 times 8 gigabyte. I wouldn't go any less than, I mean, you can go with 4 gigabytes, but you want to keep your options open with which algorithm you want to mine. So I always go a little bit higher than the 4 that you really need. You know, there are some memory intensive algorithms. I mean, Litecoin's not GPU mining anymore, but it's just always good to have more memory. You know, why not? It's only $100 for that stick, or 120, something like that. It pays itself off. Now, the regular CPU heatsink that comes with the G4400, it's perfectly fine to use. You know, get a decent thermal compound. It doesn't really matter, but any thermal compound will work. Get some tie wraps. At the end of the video, we'll go through tightening up all the wires. I got this spiral roll wrap right here. This is good for harnessing wires if you have all different lengths and you cannot cut the wire to your length. It allows you to hide all the mess, and you know, you can pop out a wire any spot in the spiral roll. We'll do a video at the end, like I said, tighten up all the wires, and I'll leave a link in the description for a good spiral wrap and some tie wraps. Everything you need. It'll make things even. That don't really matter. Okay, so let's get going on this. For the CPU, okay, it only goes in one way. You see the little cutout right there on the end? You'll see on the motherboard itself has a cutout right there. If the camera ever focuses. Or whatever. If you're looking at the motherboard where it says ASRock facing the right way, you'll see that the cutouts are on the top. It's cut out on each side, it looks like. Yep, cut out on each side. And you'll see down here it actually has a pointer. The pointer goes to the cutout down there. So, you know, and also when you're working with electronics, don't be barefoot in your bedroom on a rug, because static electricity will or could fry your chip. So be very careful when you're working on rugs. Make sure you're wearing rubber shoes. You know, it'd be best if you can use an ESD kit. That way you eliminate all chances of frying any computer chips. But I'm at my parents' house right now, working off a folding table. So I definitely don't have ESD set up over here, but whatever. As long as you're careful, this clip, you can just push down the black. You don't have to worry about the black piece on top. When you go to push down, it pops off automatically, so don't even worry about that. There you go. The memory. Now all memory can only go in one way. You gotta look to see where the offset is. See how the indent right there in the middle is offset to the left? And so is the board. Hard to do a camera in my hand. No, wrong way. It was the right way. So the offset, it's closer to the left when you're looking at it this way. Can't even see because I'm holding the camera so close. Trying to hold the camera in my hand at the same time is not going too well. Now be careful when you push down, because where the mounting holes are. Let me put this camera down for a sec. So, you know, you don't want to push down too hard. You don't want to force it, but basically a finger on each side. You know, you might want to support underneath depending on where you're doing it. Probably better to assemble the board inside the box on the foam before you put it in like this. But you know, if you assemble motherboards before, shouldn't be an issue. The thermal compound. This one's a little old, so I'm gonna shoot some of the watery shit out of here. And with thermal compound, you can just, you know, there's lots of ways you can do it. You just put a big bead in the middle, and as you push down, it will spread out on its own. You don't want to put too much where it's going to go overboard onto the, you know, onto the chip itself. If you look at the stock when you buy a heatsink, it only comes in, you know, they don't cover the whole entire thing, so it's not needed. And now the fan, you know, it doesn't really matter which way you do it. Depending on what motherboard you have, some fan wires are short that won't reach some areas. But what you do is you line up these four things, make sure they're all turned to the left. All these four poles, turn them all to the left, because you need to get them lined up in the hole. And if you get them all turned to the left, then it'll be easy to push down on them. And you'll hear them all click into place. And then you can just use your fingers or a screwdriver, it doesn't really matter. But make sure you push down, make sure it's pushed down, and then you just turn right a little bit. You're not tightening a screw, so all you do is turn 90 degrees to the right. Alright, make sure they're pushed in though. Now, you're going to want to get close to the motherboard. If they all look nice and even, then you're good. You can try tugging on them just a tad. You don't want pulling them a lot, because any strong, you know, man can pull it a little bit and break them. But they're all good. Then you just plug the fan wire into any three or four pin. Well, you're gonna want to go 4. It's 4 pin. This motherboard has a 4 pin right there, so that works. We'll go through and we'll organize the wires later. Alright, so that's assembling the motherboard. That's all set. With these, you see this little you know, dick sticking out right there? That's going to face away from the motherboard. Just like that. Okay? Now, like I said, you're going to want to put tape on the back of these, because they're so close, and the contacts right here will ground out to this USB, and that is not good. You do not want that. Right now I just have a piece of small tape over it. You can actually wrap around if you want once. You don't need to go crazy. You can use electrical tape, but I wouldn't suggest it because it's gonna leave residue, especially when it gets warmed up. But I mean, if you look, they're not touching, they're just awful close. But when you mess around with the USB wires, it's possible to touch, so you definitely want tape on those contacts. If you don't have tape on those contacts, you know, spread them out. Since I only have 3 graphics cards going in, I'm gonna skip a hole because not all mine have tape on it right now. Like I said, I'm not at my house, so I don't have all my supplies here, just when I don't forget. So that's good like that.
That's good.
Oh, still got the M2. Is the hard drive. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's tiny. I don't have to have an extra wire for the SATA. I know some people like to add the adapter so you can add another graphics card onto your computer, but I don't see a point. I mean, yeah, if I was trying to save room, but if I had the money and I was building unit after unit, I would just build 12 card units, 13 card, whatever, and use these because these are beautiful, fast, efficient, and less clutter. The motherboard itself comes with a little tiny screw. Make sure you don't lose that as you're unpacking the motherboard, because it's going to be hard to find a screw like that unless you've dealt with these motherboards before. It's just a Phillips head screw. Where am I finding screwdrivers? Oh, I'm using it to prop up the camera. Huh. I need a tripod, people. I said that before, but it's true. Pain in the ass working the camera without a tripod, especially in a video like this.
These cops.
So this isn't very scary, but
That we run the show. Some get it. Like Roberts. But the rest think the more they lock us down and isolate us, it strips us of our power.
now when you put any screws in,
Close the books.
there's no need to crank them. You don't need to put any force on them.
They're dead.
Like this one right here, your 2 fingers just getting them a little bit tight, it's fine. All the mounting screws for the motherboard, you know, you just a little bit of crank. You don't want them to come loose with a little bit of vibration with the fans, and then, you know, the motherboard start vibrating themselves. But you don't want to crank it where you start damaging the motherboard. So use your best judgment.
Yes. What I wanted to hear.
Now the motherboard requires
I understand.
2 4-pin Molex connectors.
Get you some price.
Got that right here.
Works for me. You like it? I got a good collection on psychology. Just finished reading Human Animal.
Now again, you don't want to just you know, start pushing down hard on the motherboard.
Deadliest weapon.
Wiggle the connector a little bit if you need to.
This is mine. Welcome to the family, brother.
I've also noticed some power supplies, their Molex connectors, the pins are real loose in there, so sometimes you try to force it in there and it won't go in. You gotta kind of move the wire around in the back to aim the pins in the right way. Just whatever I'm saying. What I'm saying is, don't ever force a screw or a connector in. If it's hard to go in, there's an issue. Take it out, look at it, check it, try again. You don't want to cross thread anything. You don't want to bust any connectors, any pins. If you start bending a pin and it's hanging on by a single strand of wire, that could start arcing out, melt the connectors. Now these 4-pin Molex, they go in the peripheral spot on the power supply. Most I don't know why I forgot that word. Most modular power supplies are labeled, so you should have no problem figuring out which one's what. Now, I don't go through organizing the wires until the end for multiple reasons. One, you might have to move a wire, or it might be the wrong routing, just anything. I don't tidy up wires until the end.
This is your parole packet. Tells you to report to.
Now these 2 fan pieces for all the fans to cool off the graphics cards. A little inconvenience having these, but we'll make it work. I'll show a picture after of where I end up putting them. Now we're just gonna leave them off. Alright, so since I'm only using 3 graphics cards right now, I'm gonna use this side. So I just pulled all these fan wires to the side and I just tie wrap them to the frame right now. So that way they're not in the way, because I'm not gonna be using this side of the frame. But for the side of the frame I am gonna be using, I took the wires for the fans. I just pulled them over to the next fan, put a tie wrap there, so that way it holds the wires up close to the fan. And then basically, this isn't that neat, but I'm not too worried about it. I tie wrapped the wires to the frame to hold it in, and the controller for the fans, it had sticky padding on the back. I just put it to the top, to the bottom piece of that frame, and here's the power connector hanging out, so that way all the fan wires they're tucked away, they're not in the way. I'm not worried about how it looks. I could do much better, but I'll do that in the next build when I have a tripod for my camera and more room. Alright, so now I'm going to put, well, first of all, cut the tie wraps. You can simply use a pair of dikes, which are diagonal cutters. Also, they have tie wrap guns. You just put the tie wrap in there, pull it. But the only thing with these is you gotta make sure that the tension's not too tight. They're adjustable. You don't wanna, so the wire's on here, you don't wanna pull it too tight. You just wanna hold it in place. So, diagonal cutters are perfectly fine for this job. See that, even that just pulled it tight. So, just, this one I don't need. Diagonal cutters. And I promise you, on my next build, I'll have the tripod set up and I will assemble every screw on camera for you guys. But this one's just going to be a breakdown. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comments. Or you can send me a message on Facebook or Twitter, email. If you can find me, email in the comments somewhere. Okay, as you can see here, for all the power supply wires, it's not very neat. I was going to use a spiral wrap, but not on this build. Not when I don't have all the graphics cards yet. So I just don't want to, you know, finish all the wires and have to take it all apart again. But I just, for now, do a couple tie wraps on there, keep the wires in place. Now this is the power supply I'm going to be using to power up the graphics cards. It's a HP server power supply, DPS 1200 FB. It's 1200 watts if you run it off 240 volts. Now you see a sticker right here. If you're running off 100 volts or 110, 120 volts, then the max output you're gonna get is 900 watts. So to get the full 1200 watts from this, you need to run it at 200 to 240 volts. And at that point, you only use the 7.8 amps. Now the reason why I use these to power up my graphics cards most of the time, one, I use 240 volts, so I get the 1200 watts, but also they're cheap. 1200 watt power supply ATX is 250 bucks. Good one, you know. And if you're spending money, that much money, you're gonna want to get a good one. You don't want to, you know, cheap out, get a bad one, and have it break down on you. I mean, me, I have a bunch of bronze and silver power supplies, and you know, I haven't had problems yet. But I've heard people having problems with theirs. So if you're spending lots of money on power supplies, go for at least gold, platinum, you know, the best you can. I use these. These are high quality power supplies. These, they've gone up a little bit more in price since they realized what they've been used for. But there's still a couple people on Amazon and eBay selling them for anywhere from $40 to $55 for a 1200 watt power supply. And then of course you need to buy the breakout board that goes along with it. Usually I just get a breakout board that I can terminate wires to, and I usually make up my own harnesses. I'll show a picture of my other two units that I harnessed all the wires myself. It doesn't look great, but I don't care how it looks. It works. My first two units were built with basically everything I had at my house besides graphics cards. And you know, the two units, I wired up all the wires for the graphics cards off the breakout board. You know, I use plexiglass for the frame, along with you know, conduit and threaded rod. So, but this time I decided to get this breakout board is pretty cheap. It also came with looks like 10 PCI 6+2 wires, PCIe wires. So that was a good deal. It was pretty cheap. Has an on-off switch. The other breakout boards I use do not have an on-off switch. I have to unplug it, which ain't a big deal. I'm not worried about that. But yeah, it's a great power supply. They also have other server power supplies. They have 2400 watt ones where it uses 2 breakout boards. But this, best bang for the buck. You can get them real cheap on Amazon. Like I said, most sellers did raise the price, but they're still under $100. So I'll show you what it looks like when it's all set up. So here's the finished product with 3 graphics cards in. I got 3 RX 580s, 1 Sapphire, 2 MSI. I was just trying to buy whatever cheapest card I could see. There's the motherboard all set up. You'll see on the risers, I put tape around them because they are so close. We'll go over that right now. And I moved the power supplies closer to the middle. That way the wires reach everything. I'll throw a tie wrap on those to neaten those up. Now the only thing I changed since the last clip is the bar that holds all the graphics cards, I had that on this side, and I realized that with this bar being offset and these cards being so small, it was easier having the bar offset closer to the front. So that's that. You see they got the fans right there. I'll be looking for different fans for the next job. There's the power supply. Alright, so now we're gonna power up, install Ubuntu, and we're gonna start configuring our miner. Okay, a little overview. I finished building the unit. I put my 3 cards that I had in there. And, you know, I quickly just do a couple tie wraps on there just to clean it up a little bit. I moved the power supplies closer to the motherboard. That way the wires reach where they need to go. Doesn't matter, you know, really where, if the wires reach, but I found it easier to have that. I have all the fans, the wires tied up. You know, it could be neater, but I'm not done with this unit yet, so. My graphics cards. Now, one thing different about this unit that I didn't follow the instructions is this support bar right here. What I did is I moved the fans in this bar. I swapped those because with these graphics cards, they're short. So in reality, the bar was back here and it wouldn't support the motherboards, okay? So what I did is I put the fans on the opposite side, and now the bar supports underneath the graphics cards. If you have longer graphics cards where it can lean up against here, that's fine. I found it a lot easier having them support on the risers and not on the wires. That's the way it was. Got all my graphics cards plugged in from the server power supply. Now this power supply has a button on the back, a power button. When you turn the power button on, this green light shuts off. I'm gonna start up the machine and see if it turns on. I had an issue with the last motherboard I had, not in this build, but a different one. Hopefully I get no issues booting up. Hopefully it boots right up. I'm gonna install Ubuntu. I'm gonna try a server image. If I'm having issues with that, I'll just go back to desktop. I've been using Ubuntu desktop for my other units. But I'm gonna set the camera up, boot it up, and we'll get started installing the OS and setting up your OS. And miners. Not sure what I'm gonna mine yet. Currently with my other miners, I'm mining ETN, Electronium. Just because it's a new coin, it's cheap right now. You don't get crazy amount for your hash rate, but I just hope for it to go up in the future. Just like all the coins now. They mine when they're $1 and then they go up to a few $100. People that have thousands and thousands of tokens become rich. And that is the goal here. Alright. Okay. So far so good. I don't have the boot media in there right now, so, but machine booted up, which means the CPU it must be seated properly, everything's good, the motherboard boots up. I just put my boot media in there. Now I'm going to restart. And all should be good to install the OS. Nah, I might have to pick the right, yep. Okay, so this is the Ubuntu server install. You just want the regular Ubuntu server. You don't need any of the extra unless they give you the option to install Secure Shell. That's the only one you will need. If you're in the United States, English, it's just keep hitting enter through all those keyboard select and all that.
missing my network cable, so it's not gonna work. Make sure you have your Ethernet cable plugged in, or at least the Wi-Fi dongle. I don't know if this sets up with the Wi-Fi dongle on the setup, but you know, have your OS connected to the internet. Mine's not. So I'm gonna pause the video and put that in. Alright, I got my network cable plugged in, so let's run it again. Now, if you have a bunch of rigs, I name all mine one thing. That way, know them all. Do not encrypt your home directory. Now, depending on what hard drive you use, yeah, you can do it guided if you like. I haven't done it on the server image yet, but so let's go down to free space, create a new petition. I'm gonna create some swap space. I got 8 gigabytes of memory. Let's give it 8,000 gigabytes. And use as, go down to swap area. And then done. That didn't work out. For some reason why I used all of them, I think. Oh, yeah, I know what. I know what's with that out. That's better. And you can do whatever you want with the last of it, but to me it doesn't matter. Make sure the mount point is root. You don't need to change anything unless you want to change the label, but it doesn't matter. Finish. Write changes, go to yes. Stack some proxy information. Just continue on with that unless you use proxies. Anything that can be done with the desktop can be done with the CLI. I'm just not very professional in the CLI yet. I'm still learning. That's why I prefer to use a desktop image. No automatic updates. Now, if you want to select packages, just go down one by one and hit the space bar to select them. You want secure shell server, and that's pretty much all you really want. Yeah, that's all I need for this build for a GPU rig, and it's installed. Now after this is all set up, I can type ifconfig in the control command line and get the local network IP, so I can just connect from my other computer. That way I can copy and paste all commands other than typing them out, looking at the screen. Now in my home network, I change all the ports. I don't have them at port 22. I'll show you how to change the port number if you want. I have a specific port number I use for all my rigs. Well, they're all different, but. And then if you want to connect to your machines from outside world, like say you use a client on your phone and you want to log into your rigs from outside the world, you need to log into your router and handle the port forwarding for each IP address on the local network. Again, I'll show you how you can do that on another video. These videos are going to be all different. If I put them all together, it's going to be too long, so I'll have one video of how to build the GPU rig frame and one video setting up the OS and software. And port forwarding, that'll be a separate video another time. I apologize for the long, delays in putting out videos. I've been very busy. Okay, well, this is pretty much it. Anyways, after this, it's gonna boot up, and that's when I switch over to the other computer. But for now, let's just pause this. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter @hashguide. Thank you. And I also opened up a Telegram channel. I'll start posting that on all my videos. If people want any help from me, I've been getting emails and answering people in comments the best I can. But I made a Telegram channel where I'll have people go in and you can ask me questions, do whatever. That's just asking you about your grub bootloader. Make sure you select the right hard drive and not your USB drive that's in place. Okay, so I'm going to shut this off now. I just might as well wait. Alright, so the system, when it shuts off like that, you want to remove the boot media, the USB drive, or else it's going to boot right back into it.
Alright, so when I assembled these fans, you can see that there was two of these brackets, and 12 of these brackets, I believe. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, yeah, 12 of those brackets. Alright, these ones have just 2 holes to connect 2 fans together. What you do is you put the yellow clip, well, you lay 2 fans down, 2 of the center fans, and then you put the yellow clip there, all on all 4 sides, and then you put the guard over the clip, and then you use these button head Allen head screws, and I use the smaller ones there's two sizes that comes with this frame. I use the smaller ones for the fans because there's not much meat that needs to go into there. So all the small butt heads go in all these fans. If you don't have enough, or if you run out and you have only long ones left, as long as you have long ones for everything else you need, then that's fine. Doesn't matter how long they are. It's just I ran out of long ones and realized I needed some more. Alright, so those fans went together pretty nicely, except for that one ugly fan down at the bottom. All these are gonna light up and that one's gonna be dark. But I'm about to put the power supply on now. Right now I just have an 850 bronze. It's a power supply I had lying around. I don't plan on powering my graphics cards with these. I use server PSUs. But to hook this on, gave you this piece of plexiglass, which you see has an offset screw at the top there, and that's to fit just like that. It uses these two thumb screws that came with it to hold the power supply to the bracket, and I used the longer button head, call them butt heads because they're rounded tops. Use the two longer round button head, Allen head screws with the nut retainers, and then basically just, you can put it wherever you want, but wherever you want. And that's how you attach the power supply, and it leans right on the rail right there. So, and to mount the motherboard, it uses the socket cap screws. There's only one type of those smaller ones, and they are used for holding the motherboard down and holding the graphics card down right here. Those guys right there. Alright, so I'm gonna put the camera down now and start assembling the power supply.